Awesome. Well, keep sharing with us where you are from. We welcome you all, and we're excited to have our first student orientation webinar. Thank you for joining us today. I know NDiSTEM is just a couple weeks away, and we want to make sure that you are feeling prepared. So just to introduce us, today our speakers will be Nana Ankra, Elder Rueda, and myself, Emily Pavlik. I'm the Student Programs Coordinator with SACNAS. I'm the one who's been emailing you like crazy. So welcome to the student presentation or student orientation webinar. First things first, kind of just wanted to share with everybody the abstract discipline overview. At SACNAS, we are a multidisciplinary organization. We are proud to have presenters across a range of disciplines, but as you can see here, really the bulk of our applications this year were in the life sciences, not to discredit all of the other wonderful disciplines that we serve too. And the conference this year, we're estimating about 6,000 attendees. And actually, I did get word today, we are well over that 6,000 mark for registrants this year. So it's going to be big and it's going to be awesome. And of that, for 2023, we'll be hosting about 1,200 presenters. So that includes you. 77% of our presenters are undergraduate poster presenters. 14% are grad poster, 8% are those graduate oral presentations, and last but not least, that 1% of our postdoc presentations. So yeah, that puts us at about 100 oral presenters and nearly 1,100 for those poster presentations.
All right, so we are about 2 weeks away from the conference. This is a time to get all your prep finalized. I'm going to talk about what prep to do if you're a poster presenter first, and then we'll talk about what prep you need to be doing right now if you're an oral presenter. So for poster presenters, one of the things that you have to keep in mind is that we don't have poster printing services on site. So we highly recommend that you print your posters back home at your institutions and then bring them along with you when you travel to Portland. The other thing I want to mention is if you're flying to Portland, do not check your poster in as a checked bag because it could easily get lost. Carry it on with you onto the flight as a carry-on. That way you can secure it and make sure it arrives with you to Portland. If you're an oral presenter, make sure you bring your presentation with you with PowerPoint slide or PowerPoint slides on a USB drive. We do not have the ability to receive email presentations, so be sure to carry your USB drive with you. Regardless of whether you're doing a poster presentation or an oral presentation, we highly encourage you to practice your presentation with your host lab. If this was a research study that you did over the summer, you could Zoom in with your host lab and have a practice session. If that is not possible, you could also practice your presentation with colleagues at your current institution. That also works as well. The key here is to practice before you get to the conference. This would make it easier for you to be comfortable when you're presenting your work to audiences, and it will also give you the confidence that you need to relay your information across quite well. Next slide, please. So we are going to have the conference app live sometime next week. So start looking from the 16th to download the conference app. I believe SACNAS staff would send out an email when the app is live. Why is it important to download the conference app? Well, the conference app has info on all the exhibitors that will be present at the conference. It has info on all the abstracts that have been submitted and will be presented at the conference. It allows you to plan your sessions and to plan your time while you're at SACNAS. There are going to be a lot of exhibitors. There are going to be a lot of presentations. Doing the planning ahead of time makes it so much easier for you to navigate SACNAS and also makes it so that you can have a very valuable experience at the conference. One of the things I do before I attend SACNAS is to plan what sessions I will attend because there's so many of them and then some of them are concurrent. I also plan what booths I'm going to visit. because there's so many people, there's so many exhibitors doing so many different things. So having a plan helps me to navigate this really properly and also allows me to maximize my SACNAS experience. One thing I would also highly recommend is that you send emails to people you're probably interested in meeting at the conference. And then again, here, if you download the app, you would see the attendance SACNAS or not. And you can potentially invite them to swing by your poster or your oral presentation and then listen to you and hear you talk. This is a pseudo interview, if you will, and it allows you to expand your connections at SACNAS. So do make sure you have a plan in mind and maximize your experience. And I believe SACNAS staff will be sending a conference readiness list. So do go through that list and then make sure you have checked off everything that's there to make sure you're prepared for this meeting. If you haven't done so already, update your CV or your resume, brush it up with your latest skills and with your latest accomplishments, and maybe get some business cards if you can. Lots of organizations would have free business cards for like the first 50 cards. So look out and try to get a couple of cards with you. It's a very easy way of communicating with people at the conference. All right. So on the previous slide, I mentioned planning ahead and how instrumental that is. In addition to planning ahead, one of the things that we should be conversant of is what our goal for attending the conference is. Scientific conferences are great places to network. The primary reason a lot of people attend scientific conferences, in addition to presenting their science and hearing about other exciting science, is to make connections, right? I've made so many connections through SACNAS. I've had so many opportunities that have opened up for me and my students by attending SACNAS. So I strongly encourage everybody to make connections when they attend SACNAS. How do we make these connections? Through your presentations, when people come to your poster, you ask them questions, you network with them. You can visit other people's posters when you're not presenting, hear about what they're doing, hear about what great science they are doing, and any resources that they may have. Visit the different booths that are going to be present. There's going to be representatives from industry, representatives from government, representatives from so many graduate schools, right? This is a great place for you to find your next job, a great place for you to find your next internships, all right? So I would strongly encourage you to go through that list and then make a plan for who you're going to see and when you're going to see them. Next slide, please. All right. So SACNAS caters to historically excluded and underserved communities, and we strive to make the SACNAS conference an inclusive environment where everybody feels welcome. In order to ensure that this happens, there is a code of conduct, which is a 7-page document, which talks about many different things that you may encounter or have to deal with at a conference. So there's a section that talks about the photo and video recording policy. There's a section that talks about family participation. There's a section that talks about inappropriate behavior. All right. I do encourage everybody to read through this code of conduct so you can understand what the policies are, so you can abide to them. The code of conduct form also has a link where you can submit any instances where you feel like you have experienced inappropriate behavior from someone or witness inappropriate behavior happening to somebody else. That link can be found on page 5 of the Code of Conduct, section 4F. So if there's anything that you feel wasn't appropriate happens to you, either talk to SACNAS staff directly or use the Code of Conduct form to get in touch with the SACNAS staff. Next slide, please. We also have student presenters guidelines. What the guidelines are is they give you information about what you are required to do for your presentation. It gives you info about, for instance, if you're a poster presenter, it gives you the dimensions of the poster that you are going to make to bring with you. Speaking of dimensions of posters here, The poster boards at SACNAS are 8 feet by 4 feet. So we recommend that your posters be about 48 inches by 32 inches or 48 inches by 42 inches. So they will fit the poster board size. There's also other info about how long your presentations should be and other helpful information that can guide you as a student presenter. At the conference center, most of the activity that we're going to do is going to be on 2 levels. The first level would have the exhibit hall where all the graduate schools, all the industry representatives, all the government representatives would have their booths mounted. In the exhibit hall as well, on the first level, along the walls of the exhibit hall indicated by the red arrows here, that is where our student presenters are going to be presenting. So the red arrows that are showing here from exhibit hall A1 through exhibit hall E indicate where you're going to be if you're presenting your posters. We're going to section each discipline and put them in different areas. So one of the things that you should do on the first day of the conference is figure out where the different sections are to identify where you will be going as a student presenter. If you have any trouble finding your section, you can come out of the exhibit hall. We're gonna have a booth where we're gonna have STACNA staff and also the student presentations committee members to help you navigate to find where your poster is. The other thing I want to mention is in addition to the posters being along the walls in the exhibit hall, if you are an oral presenter, you're going to be presenting in the rooms that are marked pre-function. So here we can see pre-function E on the left side and then pre-function C and pre-function A. So we're going to have quite a few graduate oral presentations that will be occurring in these rooms here. Next slide, please. All right, so for postdoc presenters and some graduate student presenters, your presentations are going to occur in the Portland Ballroom and the Oregon Ballroom. And these are on the second level of the conference center. So this is where your presentations are going to be. So you should have your room assignments emailed to you by now. So this will be helpful in helping you navigate the conference center. Next slide, please. All right.
Okay, that's me. Hello, everyone. I hope that you are as excited as we are about you presenting this year at our annual conference. As one of the mentor judges, I'm looking forward to hear your story about your research. And so in this section, I'm just going to give you some information for you to easily set up your poster, present your poster, and communicate with your mentor, Josh, on-site and afterwards. So let me start with the graduate and undergraduate poster presentations. So there basically are 2 poster sections happening in the mornings of October 26 and October 27. The first section is happening on Thursday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and the second one on Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You have been assigned to one of them. By now, all of you should have received your poster number and the time of your presentation. So you won't, as Nana mentioned, we don't have printing services on site. So we ask that you bring your printed poster to the conference. If you arrive on Wednesday and you are presenting during the first section on Thursday morning, once you are registered, you will have access to the exhibit hall in the afternoon that Wednesday. So you're welcome to set up your poster on Wednesday afternoon from 4:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. And you can also arrive early on Thursday before your presentation to set up your poster at around 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. If you are presenting on Friday in the Friday section, you will want to be at the exhibit hall as early as 8 a.m. on Friday to set up your poster in advance and be ready. the next information is for all the presenters. At the end of the day, at the end of your presentation, of the end of the day of your presenting, we're asking you to remove the poster, save it, or recycle your poster. So you will have basically 1 hour or less than that to share and to present your poster and enjoy the time in front of your poster. At any moment during this hour, a mentor judge will come to your poster, and we will introduce ourselves and let you know that we are ready to hear your science story. First of all, you want to share your science in 10 minutes, and then allow us to ask you questions for about 5 minutes. We encourage you to present your science and share the expected as well as the unexpected outcomes. If you are unsure whether we are your mentor judge, just please ask before you complete the presentation. Our goal is really to share some advice and provide constructive feedback after you present. Also, we want to hear back from you. So before the mentor judge leave the poster, you can just ask for contact information so that you can email any one of those mentor judges after the conference. So we can provide a lot more guidance that way, and we are happy to hear from you after the conference is over. Okay. Our graduate student presentations. For our graduate students who are giving oral presentations, we have multiple sections happening only on Friday from 10:40 a.m. to 12:15 p.m. During each one of these sections, there are 5 or 6 students presenting. Each student will present for 10 minutes and will allow 5 minutes for Q&A. To be ready for your oral presentation, we ask that you arrive 15 minutes before you are scheduled to present. And as Nana mentioned, provide us with the USB drive so that we can upload your presentation in advance. In these oral presentations, there will be 2 judges evaluating your oral presentation. And so the next few tips are for everyone. During your poster or oral presentations, the mentor judges will be evaluating your presentation. And so we will have 3 main criteria that should appear in the following order. The first one is, tell us what is the significance of your research. Start with the big picture, the problem that your scientific field is trying to solve, followed by the specific question of your research project. Second, give us a great but concise and inclusive description of the research methodologies that you utilize, how the results were analyzed, and the key interpretations of these results. And last but not least, and I'm almost in that slide, last but not least, tell us what's next on your research. How is your research going to move forward, and what are the plans for your specific project? For all the presenters, we want you to enjoy your presentations, and the key to give a successful poster or oral presentation is preparation and practice. And so we don't encourage you to memorize your presentations, but rather practice as much as you can before coming to the conference. Tell your scientific story to your lab mates, other people in your institution. Share your presentations with your family and friends, and allow them to ask you questions. When you spend a lot of time thinking about your presentation, that will ensure that you follow a pathway that is organized, clear, and concise. And so we, the mentor judges, will be sharing a lot of advice and providing constructive feedback after your presentation. And so I just want to say congratulations for being part of this year's SACNAS presentations, and enjoy the meeting.
All right, so Before the conference on Wednesday, I know some of you may not be arriving yet until Thursday until we get closer to actual presentation time, but for those of you who will be there on Wednesday, we strongly encourage your attendance at the student presenters reception. So this will be held Wednesday, October 25th at 7 p.m. in the Portland Ballroom 253-254. This is a reception for student presenters and scholarship recipients. So for those of you who also received a travel scholarship with SACNIS, this is a fun and interactive session. We encourage student presenters and travel scholarship students to get the most out of NDiSTEM by participating in this event. We'll have light refreshments, hors d'oeuvres will be there, but not a full dinner. So if you do attend, we recommend that you get dinner before you arrive. But you'll get to meet some of us, the student programs committee, and then a couple of members from the SACNIS leadership team as well. Immediately following the reception, we'll have a coaching session. So all of that practice that you're doing ahead of time, you'll get to do in person too before the conference. So at this coaching session, it'll happen immediately following at 8 p.m. And just a couple doors down at the Portland Ballroom 256, 257. We'll have some more senior presenters and some professionals who will arrive and serve as coaches to help you just for this quick little hour-long power session of breaking the ice and getting yourself prepared to present the next couple of days.
All right.
Sorry, Nana, you go ahead.
Yeah, that's okay. So on Saturday, which is the very final day of the conference, we do have an award ceremony. So this is a very exciting event where select individuals from different categories are given awards. It's going to be held on Saturday, October 28th, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. in the Oregon Ballroom. So do come and cheer your peers on. Whether you win an award or not, it's an exciting event to participate in. My personal opinion is if you've presented at SACNIS, you've done an amazing job, and everybody deserves an award. So come, let's have fun on Saturday, October 28th. Now, after the conference. So I mentioned before that the conference is a great place to network. The conference is a great place to find jobs, to find mentors, to find everything you're looking for professionally. Now, that being said, one of the most important things with networking and also with meeting people is how you follow up after you've had your initial meeting. So one of the things I strongly encourage you to do is that anybody you meet at a conference that you find potentially interested with regards to the ability to help you move from one stage in your career to the next stage, do get their contact information. And then after the conference, when you get back to your home institution, you can send them an email with a copy of your CV or a copy of your resume, and you can just let them know that you're emailing them to keep an open window for communication. Periodically, you can send them updates about accomplishments that you've had. If you've had a publication, you can update them with that. If you've done a wonderful internship where you picked up some skills, you can update them about that as well. The key thing here is to keep in contact and keep that professional relationship going. Now, a lot of people tend to be afraid of asking for help or tend to be afraid of emailing people after they've met them. Don't let this restrict you, right? All the people you're going to meet at SACNIS are willing to talk to you and are willing to help you navigate your career and also help you navigate your academic experience. So feel free to email anybody that you've met and ask any question that you want. And I am pretty sure they'll be happy to email back to help you navigate whatever it is that you are interested in. Next slide.
Thank you everyone so much for attending this webinar. We'd like to open it up now to questions while we still have some time. So please don't be shy. Feel free to ask those questions, drop them in the Q&A. First question here I see already. If there were suggestions for changes to our initial title and abstract, do we need to send our updated abstract in before the conference? We don't require you to send us an updated abstract. And in fact, if you've updated the research, so say you've continued the research since your original application in the spring or in the summer, that's great. That's totally fine. Speak to those changes while you're giving your presentation, but we don't require you to send us an updated abstract. If you'd like to, feel free. You can email me presentations@sacnes.org, and we'll do our best to update that in the abstract book prior to the conference. The cutoff date for that will be next week. After next Friday, we won't be able to make any more changes to the abstract book. The next question here, maybe this would be a good one for Elda or for Nana, since you both served as mentor judges. How do we respond to questions that we don't know the answer to?
So that's a great question. If you do not know the answer to the question, you can start off by saying that is a good question, all right? And then you can process what the person is asking you, right? So you can either ask them to elaborate a little bit more to see if there's something specific they really want you to address, or you can think through the question and then see how best you can try to respond to it. So you don't need to know all the answers, but you can think about how you can potentially come to the right answer, if you will. I don't know if this makes sense. The expectation is not for you to know everything. One of the reasons why we do science is to find answers to questions. Most of the times we do not find answers. Most of the time we find more questions that we need to address. The important thing is to know how to navigate the process of finding the answer. All right. So don't be scared or embarrassed if you do not know the answer. All right. Elda, do you want to add something?
Yeah, just that it is completely okay for you to acknowledge that you don't know the answer to that specific question, but you can keep going the conversation. Don't stop the conversation there, because we are there to give you help you get the next step on even in your research. We're not the experts on your research, but we have a lot of knowledge in other things, so we can help you with that. So keep on the conversation, even if you have to acknowledge that you don't know the answer.
That's great. Next question, will mentor judges have any prior knowledge about us or our research, like our abstract or major or where we're from? That's a great question. So the mentor judges will be provided your name and the poster number where they can find you. Some mentor judges, they'll be getting their assignments prior to the conference. So some mentor judges like to take the time and read your abstract if you've permitted SACNIS to publish it, because some students prefer not to. But if you've permitted SACNIS to publish it in our abstract book, then the mentor judges do often take the time to go through our abstract book, find who they're supposed to be judging, and then kind of get a little bit of a sneak peek preview before they actually get to see the presentation. But aside from that, we won't be providing them with your major or where you're from.
And you're free to disclose that information as well as part of the conversation. I've had a lot of people introduce themselves, tell me where they're from and how long they did their research projects for. It's a way to help you also calm down your nerves before you actually start diving into the science. Is to just give a little bit of information about where your institution is located and other information like that.
And then to go with that, we got another question. Do we get to know who our assigned judges will be? We won't be providing you with that information prior to the conference, but the judges are supposed to self-identify. So when a professional comes up to you and you're ready to give your presentation and that professional is your mentor judge, they should say, hello, hi, I'm your mentor judge, or just, let you know that that's their role. So you're not left wondering if the presentation you've just given to is to your assigned mentor judge.
And just in case they forget to indicate they are your mentor judge, you're welcome to ask if that person is your mentor judge as well, just so you know.
And you can do that simply by just saying, are you here to evaluate my presentation today? You don't have to say, are you my mentor judge necessarily? If you're concerned about saying it that way, you can just say, are you here to evaluate my presentation? Are we expected to put our abstracts on our poster, or are there resources to know what sections are expected to be on our posters? So you're not expected to put your abstract on your poster unless you want to. Many people do. If you've been working with a mentor or PI, definitely speak to them and see what they recommend. Everybody has different preferences, but ultimately it's at your discretion. Really good questions. Okay, let's see. Relating back to abstract changes, I'm just curious to know if it's common for students to come into a conference with big changes to their project after their original abstract is accepted. That's a really good question. It varies. I think some students find especially if you've submitted your abstract in the spring last year, we're getting close to that being almost an entire year since maybe you've been doing that initial research. I think it's likely that there could be some big changes. I think bottom line, as long as you're speaking to those changes to your mentor judge, it's fine. We know that you've been able to relay the information of your research well enough to be accepted to present your research. So you're already doing great. I think as long as you continue that conversation in person, it's totally fine.
Right. And also the other thing to keep in mind is all your mentor judges know that your research is ongoing for a lot of students that are presenting. So we do expect that your data will change as you collect more data over time. Either it's going to be very different from what you initially mentioned your initial results were in your abstract, or it's going to be something that confirms the previous data set that you have. It's totally fine to have data that is different.
All right, the posters are to be printed horizontal, correct? Yes, so it's an 8-foot by 4-foot poster board. So I would keep that horizontal. The measurements, like Nana said, I believe were 48 by 36 and 30 or 48 by 32. So
and then 48 by 42.
42. Thank you. That's what it is. So yeah, so horizontal. Are there any criteria with how mentor judges are assigned? Yes. So we assign mentor judges who are in your related discipline. So the discipline that you selected for your application for your abstract, that's the mentor judge that we're assigning to you is also in that discipline. But what I want you to keep in mind is you're the expert of your science, right? They're not the experts of your research. You are. They're here to evaluate how well you are able to convey that information and speak to the research that you're doing. But yeah, just remember, you're the expert. Let's see. Is there a dress code for our presentation day? That's a great question. SACNIS recommends that you come as you are, really. It's business casual, but we want you to bring your whole self to the conference. And if you finished your conference readiness materials, you know what that means. We did a quick little video about this earlier this year about bringing your whole self to the conference. So we want to make sure that you feel comfortable and that you get to be exactly who you are at our conference. Is there a way for posters to be left up for longer after the presentation time so we can see the research of other presenters that spoke during our time? Yes, so you just need to take them down by 5 p.m. on your presentation day. So if your presentation is Thursday and you're done at noon, you can leave your presentation, your poster up. Just make sure it comes down by 5. Any posters that are still up after 5, SACNIS is not responsible for, and we will discard them. If we've changed projects, can we present on research other than what our abstract was about? Unfortunately, no. The research that you submitted is the research that you have to be presenting. That's what was reviewed and accepted. So we cannot permit you to present research that you did not submit formally during the application process. Lots of really good questions. You guys came prepared. I'm so glad. To create our posters, what online databases do you suggest for formatting? That's a really good question. I actually don't have an answer to that one. I don't know, Nana or Elda, do you guys know of any?
So do you mind repeating the question again?
Yeah, of course. To create our posters, what online databases do you suggest for formatting?
So you can use any tool, any database, any program at all. PowerPoint works, Google Sheets works, Canva works, right? So at the end of the day, all you want is to use a program that can allow you to put your data, allow you to put your figures, and then create a slide that has the dimensions for you to print. So it doesn't matter what program you use whatever is available to you. Google Sheets is free for a lot of students, so that might be one way to do that. PowerPoint is free for some. You can do that as well. And I've had people use Canva in the past too. So whatever works best for you.
You also want to be make sure that if you have a lot of images, like immunofluorescence images, you are using Illustrator or some Photoshop. Those are not specifically free, but they you want the resolution that is gonna allow you to have a good quality figure. So just be careful if you're using a lot of images from the microscope.
Another good question here. How do I upload my resume and how do I find the list of booths for the conference? Your resume should have been uploaded when you registered for the conference. At the beginning of that registration process, there's a little tiny section where we ask for an upload. If you forgot to do that, that's totally okay. In your registration confirmation email, so after you registered, you should have gotten a registration confirmation email. There are special credentials in that email that you can use to log back into your attendee profile and upload the resume. And if you're not seeing that registration confirmation email, just send me a message, presentations@sacnes.org, and I'll resend it to you. Oh, this is a good question. Would you recommend asking the judges their familiarity with my research field, then tailor the degree of jargon accordingly?
That's a great strategy to use. You're gonna get different responses from the different judges that would come. Some would let you know whether they're in the field, that is, would just give you like a very vague answer. But yeah, for any presentation at all that you're given, it's always good to gauge who your audience is so you can adjust the jargon accordingly. So that's actually a good strategy to go with. You don't have to do it all the time because most judges would maybe let you know if they're coming from a field that is very different from the field you're presenting in. So you do not have the burden of asking them. Anybody assigned to you would be familiar with your work because we have the judges and we evaluate them and put them in the different disciplines that they have experience in. Elder, do you want to add something to that? I mean, there's different approaches that people use. Right?
Yeah, there are different approaches, and I was just gonna say sometimes it's just start with what you know because you want to be able to communicate your science, and that the development of a scientist also comes with communicating the science to the general public. So sometimes it's important for you to treat us in some way as the general public, but obviously we are all scientists and we are going to let you know whether it becomes a conversation at some point if you when that happens. And so the students are usually you realize really soon whether we understand certain words or not. And so it is actually, it's fun. Don't get too tense about it. Just go with the flow a little bit.
Right. Good point. And also one thing to remember is even if the person is in your specific subfield, right? Being able to communicate your data effectively relies a lot on you using plain and everyday language, right? So try to keep your presentation at a level of, I always tell my students, if you can explain your research to a third grader, you can explain it to anybody at all. So try to make it so that anybody at all can understand it, all right, including the jargons. Anytime you introduce a new jargon, you can maybe explain what it is if it's very specific to your field.
Couple more questions about the sizing of the poster board and the poster. Are there specific margins that the poster needs to meet besides being 48 by 42 or 48 by 32? It just shouldn't be larger than the poster board itself. So if it doesn't meet those specific dimensions that Nana mentioned earlier, that's okay, but it should not exceed the 8 feet by 4 feet of the poster board. Another question, how do we find out about the guest speakers that will be attending the conference? Check out our agendas. On the SACNIS conference website, you can see the detailed agenda and the agenda at a glance. The detailed agenda is where you're going to find some more information about those guest speakers. So take the time, kind of go through. And if you're doing that conference readiness part 2, which FYI due the 16th. So if you're still working on that, that's perfectly fine. But go through that detailed agenda because that's where you're going to find all the sessions, and that's where you're going to find some information about the speakers, featured speakers, keynote speakers, all that great stuff. Well, we still got a little bit more time. If there are any additional questions, we are here and happy to answer them.
And just before we go and before other questions, I just wanted to encourage all the students to visit other posters, visit your peers, and learn from each other. There is a lot to share, and there is a lot to learn from each other, believe it or not. Many of you are first-time presenters, and it's a good feeling when you find people who are at your level, but you are sharing these ideas and how you feel in the conference. So just share as much as you can, as much as you want.
And don't be afraid to ask questions for us too. I know conference is just around the corner, and you're all getting an influx of emails from SACNIS, be it from me or from other members of our team. But you're all part of the SACNIS Student Presenters Slack channel. So that's a really quick way to get some answers to questions or help each other out. So please don't hesitate. If questions aren't coming for you now and you think of something later, definitely ask your questions there too. Can we leave contact information with our poster after the presentation time and before we take them down in case we miss anyone? That's a great question. I've seen some students put their own business cards up on their poster boards, but just note that at the end of the day, that'll all get taken down because the next day, so if you're a Thursday presenter, all that's going to get taken down because that same poster board where you were standing on Thursday has to be accommodated for a presenter the next day on Friday. Will we be presenting throughout the entire duration of the block, 2 hours or a fraction of this time? You'll be standing at your poster for that whole time. You may not have a mentor judge or another professional coming up to you that entire time. The way that I understand it can really go is that it'll be like ebbs and flows of presenting. So you might have like a 20-30 minute period where you're doing a lot of presenting and then a little break and then a little bit more. This will actually be my first time in person for NDiSTEM, my third SACNIS conference, but my first one in person. So I'll finally get to see all of the wonderful presentations in person. But Nana or Elda, I don't know, maybe you can speak to this a little bit more as well.
Yeah, I mean, just like you mentioned, you're gonna have periods where people are at your poster and you're presenting to them, and then periods where there's nobody and you get a rest. So chances are you're not gonna be talking the entire 2 hours. You're gonna have periods where you're actively engaging with people and periods where you get some rest.
I actually, in the last meeting, there was nonstop, which is actually exciting. That's what you're supposed to be there. Yes, you get tired of talking for the entire time, but that is what gives you that energy to keep going. So just talk as much as you can.
Yeah, and if you need to take a bathroom break, feel free to do that and then come back and continue where you stopped off. All right.
A really great suggestion that was just posted in the chat that I want to share. Adding a QR code to your poster with your LinkedIn is a great way to network as well. That's so smart. So if you've got the room on your poster, that's a great suggestion to get the mentor judges or other professionals who are coming up to your poster to continue that conversation and add you on LinkedIn. Yeah, add a QR code to your poster. Nice. Any other questions before we wrap things up today? What happens if the mentor judges get to our poster when we're not there? Bathroom break. That's okay. We've told the mentor judges to circle back. If they show up and you're not there, they're going to do the rounds. They're going to finish checking out their other assigned posters and they'll come right back.
Yes, and if it's like an hour into your presentation and your mentor judges haven't showed up yet, You can let SACNA staff know about it, and then we will sort that out.
Yeah, come on over to that presenters booth and tell us what's going on, and yeah, we'll get it sorted for you, just like Nana said.
But it's very rare, right, Emily?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, if you go to the bathroom, they'll come back. Don't worry. Yeah.
We'll find you.
Yeah. And yeah, you might need water, especially if you're talking so much during your presentation. How many posters are judges assigned? Judges get assigned posters each day. So it's like 5 posters on Thursday and 5 posters on Friday. But because each poster has 2 judges, they have to, go through the convention center, go poster to poster. And if they go to the poster that's currently being judged, again, they're going to be circling back. So it can be a little bit of that back and forth, but that's okay. And if it happens where you've got both of your mentor judges who show up at the same time, that's okay. You don't need to do 2 separate presentations unless your judges request that. If they show up at the exact same time and they're okay standing there together while you give your presentation, that's perfectly fine. Well, awesome. Well, thank you all for your fantastic questions, for joining us today for the student presenters orientation webinar. It has been lovely getting to chat about NDiSTEM. I hope this got you excited, and we'll be seeing you all in just a couple of short weeks. It's going to be here before we know it. I hope you're feeling prepared and ready to present, be it your first time, your second time, your third time, or your fourth time. We are just so excited to see you. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your Thursday. See you soon.